Hello and welcome to Count with Fingers, episode 27, where we're going to find out how many fingers we can count with. How many fingers can you count with? Can you count alongside us counting with your fingers? I ain't got a fucking clue what's going on. Hello and welcome to Season 2 of Frauds of Waterdeep, Episode 1. Episode 17 in old money, but Episode 1 in Season new money. Ooh. And we'll talk a little bit why we're on Season 2 shortly, but I am joined by the Alpha Beard, who's got incredibly pixelated doing that. Also looks a bit too much like a Trump supporter for my liking, I have to say. Make ampersands great again. I'm also joined by Little Beard Dan.
Hello.
Joe in a Bromley Travelodge, if anybody wants to stalk him.
I think this is my food.
What?
Perfect timing.
Okay, right, so he's got a blue bag. Is that yellow pants he's wearing? Do they look like silk? Are they silk pants, do we reckon?
There's something going on, isn't there?
Yeah. I mean, it's got your standard issue colour shirts for work, hasn't he? Let's face it. Though I don't
Why is his shirt hanger above
the bed.
How small is this travel?
Oh, no, it's below the bed.
Rearranged it.
The way that pillow is, it's above the bed. It's below the bed, sorry. I can only see me sleeping on that shelf.
You go sleep on the shelf.
Okay. Right, I'm going to bring this to order. Right, so if you've been watching the stream so far, this is entirely fucking normal, frankly. I don't know who I'm trying to kid. Can I be asked in the intro again? Or am I just going to edit? No, I can't be asked. Okay, so first thing we're going to cover is that in the games we're going to be using... I reckon Joe's going to forget he's muted himself. That's all I'm saying. It's going to be conference call central. Right, okay, so we're going to be using the X card. So there was an incident at UK Games Expo where a GM did something completely inappropriate scene with his group. And there's a big discussion about it, and it kind of there's a thing that they use at the UK Games Expo called the X card, and essentially if the game is going in a direction that you're not comfortable with for whatever reason, you just get to tap the X card. And at that point, the game edits out whatever's just been X-carded. You either step back or you ignore it. You don't ever have to explain what it is or why you're X-carding that. And also it allows you to say, look, I just want to have a one-to-one chat about the topics that the game is raising. It allows players who are feeling uncomfortable for any reason with the topic of that game at that moment to call it and say, okay, I'm just not feeling comfortable about this. They don't have to explain it. Everybody respects that. And whilst I don't necessarily think that we have a kind of like toxic game atmosphere and everybody knows everybody more or less here, you could say, well, why do we need to have this thing? I still think it's a good exercise to have because we don't know each other well enough to kind of understand if there are topics in our lives that we just don't feel comfortable with, so it's making them do that. Also, I think it's good that these things get normalized within gaming, so even if you don't use them, it's there, it'll become more normal, it'll become part of the process of gaming, and therefore when they are useful to people, there'll be less stigma associated to being able to use it. So we'll do that. Now, given that we play online, what you're going to have to do is message me in some way, or just say X card or what have you, and we'll take it from there. Okay. So I introduced this as season 2 of Frauds of Waterdeep. So there may be a question, say, well, why do we need another season? Why is this because you've run out of fingers to count on, Paul? Okay, whichever person X carded this topic did something. I don't get to see the Discord chat because I'm full screen on Discord. But I'm assuming that little beeping noise in my ear was somebody X carded it. Is that right? Am I right in that assumption?
From a gift.
Can I log into Discord, by the way?
That's just my vote for how we demonstrate we're X-carded.
Do you know what? I'm just not going to look at it because it's going to make me physically sick. I can tell. I can tell. Okay. Right, so why do we need a season 2? We need a season 2 because of a number of factors. We are in a different phase of the game now, so it kind of breaks it out and demonstrates that phase. You guys are playing tier 2 characters, so it makes sense to kind of have a separate kind of season of that. And also it gives us a departure point to introduce anybody who's new to the story and just kind of wants to jump in rather than having to watch 16 episodes of around about a couple of hours each. So it's like a month worth of Critical Role or something, 2 months worth of Critical Role. Which I'm trying to catch up on, but I think Ben worked out it'd take me until about 2021 to kind of, at my current rate,
October
to kind
2021 and you'll be on track.
Yeah, and then I'll have caught myself up. I'm on episode 8, if anybody's interested, of season 2.
8?
8.
I was on 8 after 2 days. Did it in a month.
So those of us...
2 days?
Those of us who actually have lives, responsibilities, less time in hotels.
They're like 3 hours each, right?
3 to 4 hours.
That's like a 12-hour session each day.
Okay, so that's why we're doing session 2. And in this session, we're doing the starter and introduction session. So, you guys were in Skullport, and we're advancing the timeline by about 3 months. So what we're going to do is we're just going to run through, and we're going to do a couple of things with each player. The first thing we're going to do is just going to offer an in-character view of the other players, the other characters, not the other players. The in-character view of the players would be interesting, but we're not doing that. An in-character view of the other characters. And then what we're going to do is just kind of let you guys have an opportunity to talk about what you've been doing in the last 3 months in Skullport. And we'll let you guys kind of have your screen time on that, and then there'll be a couple of scenes or a scene that we'll pull out kind of from each. So we'll start with Aldred as the leader of this band of individuals. I know.
Screens.
I know, Iggy. The reason why I say that is because I'm pretending to be kind of like the Black Staff or Laeral, and clearly the noble would be the leader. I like how he's haloed himself with light as well. That's interesting. So, Aldred, if you want to just talk to us about your feelings of your companions that you have lived with, fought with, kissed. Just check it out there. Let's see.
I have the narrative power.
You have all the narrative power.
Right. Okay, so I'll go characters and then Skullport shenanigans, yeah?
Hey, just do your characters. Everybody's going to do the characters, and then we'll come back to the Skullport shenanigans.
Cool. So, having spent 3 months in Skullport, Aldred's gotten a lot more comfortable with most of the party members. The person he's grown the most fond of is actually Fenn. During his wanderings of Skullport and looking for scrolls and various other texts, he actually would bump into Fenn, who is a man who's very keen on his books as well, which was not knowledge that was known to him before. So now they quite often reminisce about previous work books done by different authors and debate about them. And Aldred's quite impressed. He did not think, just from appearances, that Fenn was that intellectually inclined.
And the Skullport Book Club meets every Monday, where they read Aldred's books. Because Fenn's interest in Aldred's books is also about obtaining Aldred's books and then selling them back to Aldred. I've actually inflated right.
Yeah, so Aldred's quite keen to aid Fenn with whatever he's doing, and is actively asking him to help with his goals, which I'll get to later. The second person he has quite fond of is Torquil, funnily enough. He knows that the guy is just bad news and a few cards short of a deck show. But he just really admires his charisma and his conviction, because Aldred's such a man of logic that someone who's so sure of themselves with completely different set of beliefs is quite interesting and entertaining. He's also going to pal around with Torquil to learn more about Skullport, which he is going to double check. I don't think you can trust everything he says. And yeah, Torquil can quite easily, fairly easily twist his arm in shenanigans, as long as he can talk a little bit more sense into the plan.
Yep, okay.
Yeah, we get to Ode, and Ode and Aldred have never had the best relationship. In fact, he still thinks he's a bit mad for trying to push him into that bladed death trap in the Blue Alley.
We're fine.
You were fine!
You grudge-holding bastard.
So while he doesn't actively hate him, he's a bit uneasy around him and doesn't really like to be alone in the same room.
Aldred's notes actually say he is hesitant to be somewhere with him alone.
Has Aldred had to X-card something for him?
Pretty much.
Every time he initiates a dance. Yeah, then we get to Zerelda. Aldred hasn't really got the best grasp on Zerelda yet. Fully understand her. He doesn't fully understand.
Taking the dodge action.
Yeah, that's it. He doesn't fully understand her motives, but she seems like a decent enough person. But that's all he got so far. He will have a friendly, casual conversation with her, and help out if it's fruitful for both parts. And now we get to Ignatius. So Aldred's somewhat familiar with Ignatius because he'd visited the academy before. He'd done demonstrations of clerical magic. Because he's so familiar with that, he knows that something strange has happened to Iggy recently. And when he's confronted Ignatius about it and asked if he needs any aid or whatnot, I'm sure that he kind of deflected the situation. Would that be fair?
I will merely have pointed out that where does magic come from? Where does Ode's abilities come from? Where do your own abilities come from? Who knows how the gods act?
Well, it's strictly speaking, it's a weave, and there's different ways, but let's not get into technicalities.
Technically.
Well, actually...
I feel like that's... and that's the characters. Oh, he's also... I guess he feels like the goblins in the Hanging Mask are humorous, if nothing else, and he's okay with... Is he called Seat now?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, he's called Seat now. Yeah, okay.
What do you mean now?
He's got a ton of aliases. He's
Well, he's ditched his slave name.
Took one really.
Given to him by an elf.
No. Theron didn't give him a slave name. Theron was very keen that he didn't use the slave name. He was trying to get him away from that emancipation. I've got to say. Anyway.
Right. Skullport shenanigans now yet?
No. So next we go to Zerelda's character
Oh, okay. Got it.
assassinations. So thank you very much, Aldred. It's good to know what you think of your fellow group. In particular, your wariness of Ode, your desire not to be in the same place as he is when you're alone. There was this one time in one of the taverns where Ode was having a piss and he saw this like figure come in and they go, oh, I don't need to go to the toilet, and just head off out. For the rest of the evening, Aldred was sat with crossed legs. Nobody knows why. Anyway, Zerelda, do you want to give us the lowdown from Zerelda's point of view on the rest of your companions, including Torquil?
Well, I'll start with Aldred.
Have you moved the position of your mic because you're a lot louder than you were before?
No.
Okay.
Was it covered up before by like whatever it was?
I think so.
Okay, it's just louder. That's all. It's okay. Carry
on. So we'll start with Aldred. She still doesn't really know Aldred that well. They rarely sort of seem to cross paths that often. And the few times that she has been exposed to him, she's found him a little pompous, and generally trying to help out, but not really making a good job of it. Such as in the prison. Which leads us on to Ode, who also doesn't seem to help out very often. But she's quite fond of him because he's a little bit erratic, but she doesn't quite know him or gauge him yet. So she's still getting used to Ode, but wants to hang out with him a little bit more. And get to know him a bit better, especially after and during the time in Skullport. Fenn, Zerelda's quite intrigued by Fenn, and makes an effort towards the end of her time in Skullport to get to know him better, and find out what he actually does, what makes him tick. But the person that she spent the most amount of time with is Ignatius, especially after their time in the heist of the manor, where she felt that Ignatius had her back, and in return she has his, and that's generally been the continuing theme in their relationship. She sort of sees a bit of a change in him recently, but doesn't really acknowledge that. And likes things the way that they are. She'd do a favour for him, as she feels that he would do a favour for her if needed as well. Torquil.
Torquil.
I'm a man after my own heart.
Coming into Skullport, she didn't have any great feelings negatively towards him, but they weren't particularly warm either. She really likes Seat, so that keeps her around Torquil. And I guess during their time at Skullport and in the hanging matter, she has a few questions, particularly in the later weeks at their time there, regarding Mask. And so they get to know each other, probably get quite a bit closer during the time in Skullport as well. And as for Seat, she just loves him. Like, she just wants to keep. So yeah, I guess that's Zerelda's opinions of everyone. Lukewarm for most people people.
Well, the adventuring party that's lukewarm is a strong band of brothers.
Does anyone else feel like this is an episode like, I don't know, this is the characters talking behind each other's back in Love Island?
Which I'm missing, by the way, and very disappointed.
You have to wait till next episode when we play back to everybody and they get to see what the others said about them.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, so Iggy.
Yes. My fellow adventurers, what a step. Overall, I like them. I like them all. We've fought together. They've bled. I feel we have a bond. And in the ever-changing world that I find myself in, they remain my current constant. They're kind of, I kind of feel like I know what to expect from Fenn. Well, I say I know what to expect them. I know to expect that I know nothing of Fenn. He's a bizarre being. I'm sure there's more to him than I see from the surface, but I haven't been able to pull any of that out of him. Ode, well, I enjoy his gruffness, and I particularly enjoy trying to wind him up. I like the banter that seems to be forming between us. I don't trust either of their ability to make a plan. I trust them, but I will be looking long and hard next time they tell us there's a plan in the making. Zerelda, that half-elf lady's got moxie, and as she says, I would have her back in a fight in the same way I feel she has mine. Aldred. Now, I feel quite protective over Aldred. He's like your arrogant, irritating younger brother. I feel to him. I don't doubt his ability to take care of himself. I do doubt his ability. I don't doubt his power, shall we say. I've seen what he can do, but I do doubt his ability to kind of use it in a way that would not get us into serious trouble. And Torquil. What's to say about the man? He's a means to an end. I don't trust him. He killed that guy in the blink of an eye. I don't know if they're previous or not, but there's better when I'm not one to back down from a fight. Better ways to go about it. But he's given us a place to stay. I'll have to be well rewarded, shall we say, if to get in part with any of his plans. But at the minute, I won't actively act against him until I know the lay of the land of the. And Seek's just, it's a walking vegetable.
And there's good eating on one of them.
Take back everything I said about Ignatius. Also lukewarm.
I didn't say I was going to do anything to it. I just said it's a walking vegetable. I don't.
Lukewarm.
Surely you'd be happy not to have anyone else vying for Seek's attention.
I don't know if fungi are vegetables or not. I'll have to check up my animal kingdom chart. But thank you very much, Ignatius.
On the animal, vegetable, mineral scale, they're a vegetable.
Yeah, fair enough.
It's funny how adventuring parties start. I feel like I've somehow fallen into this bunch by accident. Looking after Aldred's younger brother, which he never paid me for, so I paid myself in socks. To the recent debacle at the Hundrel estate, and I have to say that my hate for the Xantarum may have got in our way. But all that said, I'd like to start with Torquil. He's a funny fella. He can clearly handle himself more than he lets on. Can't say I care for his beliefs, mind. The gods just puppet bastards pulling at strings in this world. Torquil is a grifter with ambition, and I think that could be dangerous. But I like him, though. I don't trust him, man, but I like him. Iggy, on the other hand, I liked this boy from the first moment I met him, and I still do. I can see he gives as much crap as I give him, and I like that. Boy's got respect. But I ain't afraid to say that he's got a side of him that I find ever so slight unnerving when he's in a fight. Fenn, on the other hand, well, shucks. Out of all this band, Fenn feels like a kindred spirit. I'd say he was and I was thick of thieves. Zerelda, however, I just don't know how she's so goddamn cheerful all the time. Hugging that mushroom all the time, well, it's just puzzling, you know. But I guess someone's got to be cheerful in all this mess. She certainly had our backs at the estate. Goddamn knows why she's so goddamn cheerful all the time. Aldred, well, I might give Aldred a hard time from time to time, but I ain't gonna let any harm come to him, see? Even if he don't think that. He did give me a good turn once. Now it's time I did him one. Just wish he'd fucking let loose and chill out once in a while. These nobles have nice, comfortable socks, though.
All are true.
Bravo, bravo. I like that. Take an inspiration if you haven't already got one. Any mention of socks is a quick route to inspiration. Good stuff. So you can see we've got a diverse, varied opinions in the adventuring group there. And when Fenn recovers from his exhaustion, I'm sure that we'll get an extra dimension, and then it will definitely be like some kind of dodgy show where you find out after the event what people's views are of you. I'm now joined by Josh, who couldn't actually make the session last time, so we're recording separately to splice this in. So God knows what's going to happen to things like audio levels and screen and bits and pieces like that. But anyway, say hi, Josh.
Hello.
You feeling a bit better?
Yeah, feeling a bit better today.
Yeah, good. So which arm was it you had amputated?
Both.
Both.
Cool. These are robotic.
It's amazing what you can kind of do nowadays, isn't it? Sounds good. Okay, so Fenn in Skullport. That's what we're here to find out. You can slag down the other guys as much as you like. They're never ever. One, they're not watching it on the stream. Let's face it. And two, they don't watch the video. Everybody just looks for their own bit. That's not like you guys do. I know. It's all I do. Anyway, so Fenn in Skullport. Do you wanna me to first before we start that though? What's Fenn's views of the other characters that he is in the deep and dark with?
Alright, so Fenn, they've been travelling now together. How long have they been travelling? It's been a while.
Yeah, probably 7 or 8 months. Probably, yeah, it depends how long you were with Aldred's crew before then.
Yeah. So Aldred, working with Aldred, it was always a bit of a chore, because it was always working for Aldred, not with, as Aldred would put it. I think over the time, especially now Aldred's kind of relaxed a bit more, and now he's lost his fortune and has to slum it with the rest of us. I think Fenn's he warmed a lot more to Aldred. Fenn's a lot more well-read and intellectual than most people would believe a Half-Orc. So a bit of intellectual conversation with Aldred, because he actually quite enjoys now and again. He's kind of surprised himself how much he's begun to tolerate. He wouldn't say like, he'd say tolerate. However, Fenn has a particular fear of those fire spell Aldred casts. there's just a way the motion that he does it brings back horrible memories to. And if anyone didn't remember, Fenn is horrifically burnt down the left-hand side of his body, but keeps it all wrapped up in bandages best he can, or with rags. He's a bit self-conscious.
Do you borrow noble socks off of
Yeah.
Ode? Yeah.
Yeah, a lot of bandages are like deconstructed noble socks. So occasionally you'll see a crest somewhere on there.
I like it.
And Fenn, I really need to think of like a voice to do Fenn in, so I could talk in first person. More. Anyway.
Yeah, just
so-
do your own voice, but talk in first person.
Yeah.
Just an option.
Yeah. Doesn't really understand Zerelda, or didn't for a long time. Because Zerelda quite mystified him, and she's strong, but kind of didn't know where she was going with kind of her motives and ideals. But I think recently in Skullport, Zerelda snuck in one day and stole one of the gems. Fenn saw everything. He was pretending to be asleep, and so as she did it, he kind of like thought, "Oh, maybe one day I'll teach you to do that properly." And he's not yet called her up on it, on the stealing of that gem. I mean, I've got like 11 others or something. I can't remember gems, so it's not too much of a worry at the moment. And Iggy's changed since he escaped from that prison, since we broke him out of that prison. Is there still audio? Because I can't hear him.
I'm muted.
Oh, that's fine. Yeah, there's something odd about him, but it's like his personality is taking a change, but it's probably a change for the better to survive in the situation we're in. So he's not going to call him up on it for now, because a slightly more vicious, edgy Iggy suits surviving in Skullport much more. And you can always rely on Ode. Definitely sees him as a closer friend than some of the others. He's known Ode a lot longer. They've been in prison together a couple of times. He's always sees Ode as a little bit reckless, but and probably get you in more trouble than is necessarily worth it. But that's kind of the fun of Ode. So it's kind of best just to go along with it. And all the others are really enamoured with talk. Fenn don't really see. He doesn't quite get it. He doesn't quite. He described Torquil as a snake oil salesman. He's a bit. He judges. He's probably a bit of a thief, but not a very good one. But he's obviously got Mask supporting him from afar. But it's almost like he's a stopgap. Mask is waiting for someone better, potentially Fenn. Potentially one of the others. He likes stool though, bench, seat, whatever his name is these days.
Bench, stool.
Yeah.
Stool. I think stool. Yeah.
And while Fenn is intrigued by Mask, he kind of feels like every time his thoughts linger on Mask too long, both the symbol of Timor around his neck, like he kind of feels the weight of it, and like the eye of Grumsh occasionally in the back of his orcish mind is that presence is kind of there every time he thinks about, or even the mention of Mask. So he's quite wary about it, but it's intriguing to him because of the sneaky thieving aspect.
Yeah. So the unlidded eye of Grumsh on the Tower of
Yeah.
Barad-dûr style.
Yeah, almost like that. And every so often Ode's convinced he keeps seeing a giant with one eye, watching him fight just from like some alleyway or in the shadows. And when he looks again, it's not there. I think that's like the symbol. A giant rat is often seen as a symbol
Yeah.
of it. So.
Okay, cool. So so talk us through what Fenn's been doing for the last 3 months.
Okay, so Fenn got injured quite badly by all them troglodytes because I think I got up there first and somehow ended up being up my tank of a group.
Yep.
So for the first at least couple of days, he kind of stayed at the hanging mask.
The
big
hanging
ship.
mask. Yeah, the hanging mask.
That's kind of our accommodation. He kind of stays there, rewraps all his bandages because like all his wounds on his scars don't seem to heal up quite as quick. He tries to kind of stay a bit hidden from everyone else because he kind of don't want to appear weak. Just brushes it off as, oh, maybe he's tired, just needs to rest. And like on a couple of like occasions when he'd like wander out into Skullport, this old crone would just shout at him in the streets, "You're meant to be dead! You're one of them!" and point at all the zombies that are shuffling around. And he just tries to, maybe Ode is with him at the time, or Zerelda, and he just tries to laugh it off a bit. He doesn't really talk about his past a lot. So he just tries to pass it off as, oh, just some crazy old woman.
Yeah.
And so first Fenn will begin to explore Skullport, trying to find out back streets are like, even though pretty much they're all back streets in a place like this. Just trying to get his lay of land a bit. He's definitely practicing his sneaking, trying to blend in, which he shouldn't struggle to do too much a half-orc. He spends quite a lot of time with Ode doing this. I imagine Ode sneaking around a fair bit, getting in a few scrapes.
Yep, that's very much what Ode was doing.
But I think Fenn's also intrigued quite a lot by the hobgoblins, especially the ones who work for Xanathar's guild. Yeah. When Fenn was growing up, he always was told that he had goblin blood.
Yeah.
Maybe he was half orc, half human, half goblin. Made no sense.
Yeah.
But and so he tried to kind of watch them learn their mannerisms, how they held themselves, because he kind of could see a slight resemblance, because he was always skinnier than other half-orcs, always a bit. Definitely has the traits hobgoblins often associated with, like the more intellectual thought process, planning, and they're all a bit slighter build. So he did that quite. Obviously, it's Fenn. He spent time in the taverns. Drunk.
Yeah.
Having plenty to drink. Doing the odd jobs. After Torquil pushed that guy off the hanging mask and killed him.
Yeah.
I mean, Fenn's an assassin. He's used to death, but it made him realize like it's worth life is worth less down here. So it's less profitable. Is death down here. Yeah. So he tends to stick to more stealing rather than taking on any contract. And because no one really knows him down here, no one's going to approach him for contracts in that way. He kind of keeps it like that for now. He also goes to the fighting pits a couple of times. Has a few fights.
Yeah.
He practices his disguises a lot more when doing that. He even fights Zerelda once, and she didn't recognise it.
Yeah. Who won?
And she loses.
Yeah. Okay.
I should have just come up in Zerelda's. I don't know if Joe read my brief on it.
I don't recall, if I'm honest. But the video will show.
Yeah. So Zerelda seems to have changed a little bit over the time as well. Fenn notices this when he fights her, and she just seems uncomfortable in her armor and not kind of with it, and he beats her easily, which was a bit of a surprise. But she didn't really recognize him because she just wasn't paying any attention. He was well disguised.
Yeah, she was too busy trying to hammer a Z in your chest.
Yeah. So he makes a bit of money in the pits. Not a lot. He's not a brawler really. He's just more quick agile, so he can win some fights, but he's not going to take down the big guys. I think really in Skullport he kind of tries to remain in the shadows. He's quite reserved for quite a portion of the first part of Skullport. His injuries are getting to him. He's suddenly dawned upon him that he's got himself into a much bigger adventure than he first thought.
Yeah.
Which he slightly blames Aldred.
I think it's maybe the same page count though. Actually, I'll just check this. So Dragon Heist is
Yeah, he didn't realise there were that many pages in it.
222 pages.
Yeah. Fenn was expecting a 12-page adventure.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah,
But that's how Aldred sold it to him.
Yeah, that's right. Do you want to go on this side quest?
Yeah.
I don't have. Hold on 2 seconds.
So,
Actually,
towards
it's a
the
bigger
end,
adventure. It is a bigger adventure.
Is it? Yeah.
Yeah, so this is 320, so it's a couple of hundred. It's about a third bigger. Oh, a 50% increase off Dragon Heist, let's say.
Yeah. So,
I just thought that's not what you meant. Yeah.
I know. So, towards the end of the first month, then it's a month, isn't it? Where we've got that we're spending
3 months.
3 months.
Yeah.
Yeah. So towards the end of kind of that period of time, he kind of comes out of his shell a bit more, talks, hangs out with the other adventurers a bit more, tries to understand a bit. But he doesn't reveal a lot about himself. Like, kind of a lot of what he reveals, it's all like superficial observations or just misdirection. He doesn't really reveal a lot about himself, but he tries to understand the others. But again, he's very. If you think of Aragorn and the start of Fellowship of the Ring, hood up in the corner,
Yeah.
observing rather than interacting in many ways. That's kind of Fenn's shtick in Skullport, trying to remain in the shadows. You don't want to be he's not owned. You don't want to be the centre.
Okay. So you earn, let's say, 250 gold throughout the course of those 3 months. If you stay in the Hanging Mask, then your kind of like living costs are negligible. The hobgoblin that you kind of you strike up an acquaintance with is one of the supply logistic hobgoblins to Skull Castle. Let's call him Grazak.
Yeah.
And he's quite reserved to start with. But eventually, kind of over the course of the 3 months, and very much ale, he kind of opens up a little bit about what he's doing. Doesn't talk about the layout. He's very fastidious. Any kind of pressing or pushing to the Xanathar's Guild and what's Skull Island like and stuff like that. He completely shuts down, and it takes a little bit of time to kind of build that up. He comes quite distant, so he's very, very cautious about that. But he's on his way towards kind of considering you. Sometimes he'll kind of come in there to specifically chat, and he seems to be quite interested in what you've done in terms of the learning that you've achieved and bettering yourself. Okay, but Aldred, do you want to tell me what you've been doing in Skullport in 3 months?
Right. So in the 3 months Aldred has been there, his main goals have been to learn the laws, geography, factions, vendors, important buildings, and perhaps make some contact. While he's in Skullport, he needs to adapt and survive. He is really not used to the food and how damp he always is. He needs to meet Shyview at the Goblin Market to feed back to the Blackstaff and the Open Lord, which is not going to be possible until we venture into Undermountain. He wants to learn more about his father and acquire more spells, like any good mage does. So, to do all this, he has been Skullport, just kind of mingling, keeping a respectful distance of anything to do with the Xanathar's Guild. Does not want to get involved in that quite yet. He was thinking he could maybe make some drow contacts, as he can speak Elven and common, so the very few languages. Well, they're unlikely to be able to speak a language he can't. He has also let to keep money coming in. He occasionally nips out with Fenn or Torquil. Would be his main go-tos, and Torquil's able to twist his arm into getting into more mischief because he's gotten a bit cocky now. Like after you cast your first fireball, there's not really going back, having that kind of power.
Because you're practically Elminster now.
Yeah. All shall bow before my fire spell. He's let his hair grow out, stubble coming a bit, and he's grown a soul patch just to make himself look a bit more like scum and villainy. That's his idea of scum and villainy. Otherwise, he's trying to keep himself well kept, and he's praying, if I can speak, to Mistra, Azuth, and Mask daily for protection and guidance. And yeah, he is going to ask. He was going to ask Fenn to come with him to meet this information broker that his father had contact with in Skullport.
Okay. So let's just address some of those points then. So Skullport, the law, so it's not particularly law-abiding, but it is governed quite heavily by the rule of law, by the Xanathar's Guild. And they have a very, very basic rule set, and that is don't dick with us. And if you don't dick with them, then you can do what the fuck you like. If you do dick with them, then you get beaten up, tortured, killed. Sometimes they kill you, then torture you, then beat you up. But it's just to get a bit of variety into the world. It's just the way that they roll. And dicking with them is not in any way codified. It's are you doing something that they don't like when they're there? And whilst individual hobgoblins aren't particularly a match for you, the force of the hobgoblins, and there are several hundred hobgoblins based upon Skull Island, which is where their main base is. And you'll learn that there is a temple or a shrine or something that houses some priests of Loviatar within Skull Island as well. Loviatar is the goddess of pain. For those that aren't aware. So you kind of wanted to make some drow contacts. Do you want to just talk me through what drow contacts Aldred makes?
I was just thinking would there be like... I'm assuming there wouldn't be any females here, because that's them, right?
There are none that you will randomly encounter on the street. There are groups of drow going about their purpose. You tend not to find them in... There's only one or two taverns. There's a restaurant which is a desiccated corpse of a purple worm. All of these things are owned by the Xanathar's Guild. And kind of like you're always a little bit nervous when you go into there on the basis that walls have ears and stuff like that. But you can kind of establish contact through, Torquil might be able to get you in touch with people, but it's up to you now to establish in the fiction what kind of contacts you want to have with the drow.
So I'd be looking for perhaps a group of drow. Preferably not followers of Loth. Like the rebellious ones that worship the male drow gods.
Beirun.
Yeah. And bonus points if they got like a magister in their midst.
There's no magister in Skullport, but you establish contact with a group of cocky young male drow who kind of proclaim themselves as being members of Dragon Heist, which I haven't heard of before, but they say is a group of male drow rebelling against a matriarchal society, and that's about as much as you kind of like know and find out about them. And basically, you think that they're arrogantly using you as a bit of a patsy for money and drinks, and kind of like trying to milk information about about Waterdeep back from you, and you think that rather cleverly you're milking them for information and such like.
I was going to say the same.
and somewhere in between there, you kind of got a relationship. It's a transactional relationship, but you've got some contacts there that you can kind of call off from, and you establish a little bit of a kind of one of their kind of like one of the flop houses. You kind of come to know. So if you were to head over there and give the secret knock at the door style, then you could get messages or chat to them. And yeah, you get an audience with Sangalor of the Secrets, who lives right in the back corner of Skullport, well renowned throughout Skullport, and it's very, very easy for you to kind of establish where he is. He lives in a big nautilus shell. So a nautilus is one of the sea shell crustaceans where it's kind of like shaped like a big swirl, but this thing is about 40 foot kind of, tall and wide, massive, and you kind of like possibly go there every kind of a couple of times and whatnot, and there's no obvious way for you to kind of like make contact with him. You kind of get there, there's no obvious doorway, there's no particular gods or anything like that. I mean, you kind of resort to maybe leaving a sticker, sheet of parchment on the door saying, "Hi, Sangalor, would like to make contact," and put your kind of sigil of the Eltorchul, because you know that he had some dealings with your dad, and he's renowned to be a worshipper of Ogma. Some say he's a cleric of Ogma and is granted priestly spells. There are some others say that he eats chickens rather than humans and is sworn off a diet of flesh, and whatever. But he's known to be very, very old and incredibly wise, and not maniacally evil like the majority of his kind. And one of these forays where you bring Fenn along, saying, "Come on, Fenn, if anybody can break into this place, you can." Fenn kind of like has a little look around and says, "Oh, Aldred, look at this!" And he kind of pushes against the door and says, "Look, I think," pushes against the wall and says, "I think there's a secret door here. Right, come on, you put your back into it." Kind of like you put your hand kind of against it and you're kind of like fall through. Fenn, however, is the other side, and you fall into an incredibly sumptuous, well-appointed antechamber, at least top tier Waterdavian noble class. Thick, lush, deep purple pile carpet. It's the kind of thing where you can curl your toes and really dig into it. Some fantastic kind of furniture kind of coming through, and you can hear what you think is 3 strings greatest hits falling down the coming down from a set of stairs that kind of like lead up kind of clearly into the Nautilus. The walls are just pearlescent, like just the inside of a shell. And you tentatively walk over to the bottom of the stairs, and you can see about 10 stairs up a tall figure, about 6 foot tall. You can tell immediately a Lithid, this kind of like thin, wiry shape, these arms that kind of come out and end in extended claws, and just this leathery, deep kind of like maroon skin, and these single eyes with no pupils looking down at you, dressed in pure white robes with a kind of the scroll of Ogma across the chest, all embroidered in gold. The most disconcerting thing is that where his tentacles would normally be, they just kind of like come out around what is essentially a porcelain dish with a single 2 black eyes and a kind of smiling mouth on it, kind of in front of him. And you hear in your mind, "Aldred Eltorchul, come forward."
I step forward and I go, "Greetings, Sangalor," and my eyes are like darting. go badly.
Yeah, there's no pictures or kind of decoration on the walls, such as the pearlescent shell, but you can suddenly see your reflection in it. It distorts it into this very kind of like very strange kind of like shapes, and they almost kind of like linger a little bit as you move forward. The shadow stays a little bit behind you as it kind of slowly catches you up. And you kind of get to the top of the stairs. The figure's just ghosted, essentially just levitated a little bit away, and then you see in this upper part is that the entirety of the walls are just given over to books and scrolls, and there must be tens of thousands of individual kind of items of literature, just kind of like on display, just as this kind of like thing curls, and it just goes up these levels as it gets more and more wide. And he kind of points you down to a chair. A small chair, and there's an occasional table, and on that there's a cup of a nice warm beverage of some description. Be seated.
So Aldred will make his way over to the chair, marveling at books, but never letting Sangalor leave his periphery.
Yeah.
And he'll sit down.
So you kind of sit down, and Sangalor goes across and kind of makes himself comfortable in an old velvet kind of chair. It looks as if it's flayed drow skin, the chair, and you can see that there's what look to be femurs as the main leg support, and they're kind of like polished quite deeply. And he takes a little glass vial and just puts a couple of drops into your beverage and puts it down. It adds the flavour.
Insight check.
Go for it.
Oh.
It's an automatic failure because you can't insight check. Because you have not got any frame of reference. You have no idea what he's just done. You have no ability to kind of judge his mood or anything like that. You got this clean porcelain in his face, and he's an illithid.
Oh, of course, he's wearing a mask.
I don't know. It makes masses of difference.
I will tentatively hold it. And
It smells lovely. It's got like this almondy, almost slightly soporific. Like it's almost you're feeling a little bit drowsy as the smell kind of like comes up.
A little bit drowsy, okay. I'm surprised you knew of.
You're surprised you knew what? Sorry.
I'm surprised you knew of me specifically.
Well, I was able to read your thoughts as you were gathered and skulking outside of my home, and your father spoke of you and your brother. Briefly, on the occasions that we spoke. In fact, the last time that he was here, he spoke of you.
He was here, physically.
Yes. He sat in that very chair and drank that very beverage. It was the last time I saw him. I think it was the last time many people saw him.
Where did he say he was going?
Into Undermountain.
And for what purpose?
Always you humans, racing after the fanciful questions, instead of pausing and trying to understand the wider, holistic, contextual position within which you find yourselves. He was trying to find a vessel that can travel through the phlogiston to other spheres of the world. He had heard rumours that there was one such to be found in the lower levels of Undermountain, and he wanted to come and consult with me on phlogiston and its properties. But he was always one for fanciful research. He told me that he had found the true name of the Queen of the Masquerade or some such, as if such information would be useful to any creature upon Faerun at this point in time.
Well, us humans don't have a long time to.
No, that is true. And the world is populated with such evil, hungry darkness. And his tentacles start to flip a little. He was in the company of a number of adventurers. One of them was a rather gruff hippo, as I recall.
Peculiar. Sangalor, why do you wear this mask?
Because you people find it disconcerting when I take it off, because you fear that I'm going to get my tentacles and shove them into your brain and extract every little bit of knowledge from you. So I wear the mask to make it easier for you to converse with me. He's not talking; these thoughts are directly arriving in your brain.
That's fair.
I'm glad that you think so, Aldred.
Do you have any other news of my father in that case?
Well, it was about a year or so ago, as you humans measure the world, and he was desperate. It wasn't anything about the existential safety of the world. But tell me, Aldred, had he ever died before?
Sorry, you cut out a little bit there. Was he asking if my father or I had ever...
Yes, had your father ever died before?
Not to my knowledge, is that correct?
So it's unlikely he will have succumbed to the death curse.
Ah, yes. I honestly expected this to be a more transactional experience.
Well, your father was a fascinating man. He knew such interesting little facts, but as I say, he did chase some of the most frivolous items of knowledge. He did, of course, enlighten me to the Feywild. He was a great expert on that. Perhaps it is to try to travel to the Feywild that he was after this spell jammer, as he called it.
Okay, I must do some more research on this then.
Well, Ogma says that we must share knowledge to be truly understood and valued. I have certain tomes that you could perhaps investigate.
And you would just grant me access to your library?
I would grant you access to some of the tomes. As I say, it is a sacred duty of the followers of Ogma to share our knowledge and not to hoard it. So I would grant you this in small measure.
Thank you.
Well, of course, I'm certain that you would be able to repay by adding a unique piece of knowledge that I did not yet possess to my collection.
I'm sure I could in the future.
Oh, the future. As you say, you humans have such a small, tiny future. I would need to have it before I would allow you access. It is the way in which the priesthood operates.
One bargaining chip I did think about.
2 seconds, Aldred. And you hear a kind of like faint echoing at the edge of your mind. And then you hear the opening, or an opening, kind of downstairs, and that. Where do you want this, Sangalor? Oh, just bring it up. I'm just up the stairs. Not a problem. And then there's a. Oh, I'm too old for this work. This old human male, who's got that. You know, one of those like trolleys that you move kind of like heavy stuff on. Like, so it's just like a big thing with wheels at the base and kind of goes out. And on it, he's got a wooden box. You can't really see what's in the box, but the box is about person height. And you hear a and kind of like he brings it in and kind of like swings it around. Where do you want this? And Sangalor just points over, and you can see, kind of trapped by wooden slats in front, there is just a human, kind of like this. Yeah, he's got kind of monkish robes on, and Sangalor says, "Yeah, just over there." And kind of the man wheels it over, hands him a kind of scrap of paper. Sangalor, kind of from his robes, pulls out parchment, scribbles on it, and kind of this man says, and kind of heads off. Tanglor looks at you as if nothing is completely untoward. This figure is like, help me, completely panic-stricken. Tanglor says, I'm intending to learn Kung Fu.
He's intending to what, sorry?
Learn Kung Fu.
Oh my God.
Matrix reference for anybody interested. I know Kung Fu.
Show me.
He's going to download it into his brain. This,
So I
this
can
human
show
is
them.
trying to get eye contact with you. He's like, so carry on. You had a bargaining chip, Aldred.
I originally came here expecting you'd want to trade,
Mm-hmm.
and presumably you've lost contact with my father's. Well, I was thinking perhaps I'd get you into contact with some powerful mages of Waterdeep.
Such as?
Well, I am an acquaintance of the Open Lord and the Blackstaffs. And
Leril
factions belonging
and
to-
Vadra.
Indeed.
Yes, I know them. They sometimes come to consult in the library.
Oh. Would be handy for them to tell me that. Well, in the same
They are
vein,
hoarders of knowledge and not followers of Ogma. They are not just quiet, and the figure's like quiet but still panic-stricken.
Well, in the same vein, then, I'm not sure I have anything to bargain, but I need to get to the Goblin Market to be able to contact them. Would I be
The
able to
Goblin
contact them
Market.
from here.
You could do me a favour in the Goblin Market, though. There is an item that
Okay.
I am interested in that I'm certain will be for sale. I need the ground nutmeg. That is a key component of my beverage. You'll get it from Shivyu, the goblin.
Just the goblin I was going to meet.
Yes, he does a lot of things to Shivyu. And he will, as I am given to understand. Shivyu, that is. Given half the chance. So get me my ground nutmeg, and you can have access to the books in my library.
Certainly. Would you be able to offer me directions in Undermountain? I am aware that foundations shift and change and bend, but is there a way to reliably get there?
I do not venture out into Undermountain. That is Halasta's domain, and he and I do not see eye to eye ever since the incident. And now, I must learn Kung Fu. It is on my to-do list today, and you know what they say. The first thing to do is to eat the frog. And he pulls back his mask and the tentacles writhe, and he says, "This won't hurt a little bit." And he just goes over. This is the human. This is Sangalore.
Oh, man.
I know Kung Fu. And you're essentially ejected from his home.
Okay.
Okay, so that's the little vignette, as they say. And so that happens at some point in Skullport, and you'll be able to kind of find some reliable-ish kind of information about where the Goblin Market's located on the second level of Skullport. Second level on Mountain. Skullport's on the third level. Up South Gouth, hang a left, find some steps. There's a bit of a problem with Azrog. He's a hobgoblin, and he's got a bit of a war on the go with some drow on the third level. But I'm sure you'll be able to buy passage, and then through the second level, and your Goblin Market's on the left. If you've got to the Gold Dragon lair, you've gone too far.
Gold dragon?
Well, it was. That's what I heard.
Indeed.
Okay, cool. Okay, so anything else, Aldred?
No, that's all. I was going to just try and find
Yeah.
where the goblin market was.
Yeah. So so your daddy pa did in fact visit Sanglor and is wanted to know about phlogiston and spelljammers and such like. Was in the company of a rather gruff hippo.
It was kind of him to let us know where he was going.
Well, you know, clearly he decided to take the secret of the true name of the Queen of the Masquerade with him. Okay, Zerelda. Talk to me about what you've been doing in Skullport.
So Zerelda was having a bit of an essential crisis on arrival into Skullport. A little bit left wondering, first of all, how she got there, why she's there. The events ever since the Gralhund's man have just sort of been a bit of a treadmill, really. It's got her to Skullport, so she's a bit confused as to what she's doing and what her plans are going forward. So she spends much of the days in the early time in Skullport going into the fighting. That's what she knows. That's what she's comfortable with. It's an environment she's been in before. So even though she's not overly successful, she is at least comfortable in that it's familiar, unlike the rest of Skullport. Her nights, however, seem to be a little bit troubled. She's waking up every morning with having acquired new things, new possessions in the room that she's keeping at the Hanging Mask, the origins of which are a little unclear, until one night she sneaks into Fenn's bedroom and clumsily steals a gem from him that we'd acquired in the last session of the campaign. However, she sees all of this like an out-of-body experience, but the next day, unlike all the other things that were appearing, the gem is gone. It's not there. She continues going to the fighting pit and has a rather disastrous encounter. And on that night, she wakes up with the amulet around her neck. She removes it, hides it, is a bit scared, doesn't know how it's got there. The gem that she'd stolen is in the amulet, and it's a little bit transformed. The shape is exactly the same, but the purple has got much darker and is more black now, with that reddy purpley hue just in the background of it. She makes one more trip to the fighting pit, almost a bit addicted, and is almost killed. She's knocked unconscious, and the next thing she's waking up in her room, all of a sudden fully restored. Not really understanding how, but the amulet's back around her neck, and she's somewhat confused. Seeking answers. She spends time with some time with Torquil. Speaks to him, understanding Mask, and realizes that what she's got has his symbol on it. Every night now she goes to sleep and is waking up in activity, doing things, being led, being guided, being taught new abilities or spells, as she later learned, with the components that she's gained. And she spends about a month and a half understanding what Mask is giving her. And she starts using these, goes to the fighting pits, and unknowingly, she's healing some of the combatants as they're coming out. She's aware, but they're not so sure. Going up, touching them, casting cure wounds, disguising herself every day so she's not recognised in the town. Doesn't really become notorious. She's beginning to understand that what she's doing, she wants to keep a bit of a secret the wider population. Towards the end of the time in Skullport, as she understands more about Mask from Torquil, she decides to spend a bit more time with Fenn and Ode, seeing that some of the activities that they get up to, she might be able to help out with some of her new spells and abilities, and wants to get in on some of their action, having seen them be successful to varying degrees in the past. And she continues her relationship with Ignatius. They spend a lot of time together, but predominantly the most of her money making would have been done early in her time in Skullport, in the fighting pits.
Yep. Okay. So you make about 350 gold in the fighting pits, net. So it's not a bad return. You pay for that in blood, broken arms, scars, and so on. But in your journey to becoming a cleric of Mask, and towards the point where you're kind of more fully understanding kind of the journey that you're taking, and you're actively in the tuition, you're kind of like lounging in the main hall of the Hanging Mask, and there's Ode there, and Fenn, and Grillpot, and so on, and two male drow come in, and they're clearly injured. Kind of one's carrying the other in their arms, blood kind of stained in some skirmish or other, and they start. Grillpot kind of stands up as the on-duty acolyte and kind of walks over and says, "Can I get you something?" And the drow says, "Smofo, butter, lay me down to the bone, jacking me up, tied me." And Grillpot says, "I'm sorry, I don't understand." And Ticky Bobs comes through and says, "Don't worry, I speak drow." And one of the other says, "Can't hang." And he says, "Oh, okay." He said, "He's in great pain and he wants to know if you can help him." And Grillpot says, "All right, well, Ticky Bobs, just tell him to just relax and I'll be back as soon as I can with some medicine." And Ticky Bobs says, "Just lying whose blood? She's going to catch you up on the rebound on the med side." And the drow says, "What is Big Mama? No raise no dummies. I dig her up." "Hey," Ticky Bob says, "cut me some slack. Chump don't want no help. Chump don't get the help. Say you can hang, say something up. Jive ass 2 got no bread anyhow." And Ticky Bobs walks up and cheers. And Grillpot refuses to offer any kind of aid because they've upset Ticky Bobs. So it's kind of like left to you to kind of cure wounds and so on and so forth as you kind of like doing that, and you just can't help yourself as you're kind of like placing your hand down. You kind of like just feel through this person's pockets and just pull out kind of some small pouches. You're not quite sure what they are. It looks like it's got some kind of powder in there, but clearly there must be some value attached to it, and you kind of just pocket that. It's done with such finesse that nobody else sees. And Torquil kind of just steps through and says, "Zerelda, Mask is strong with you. I can see he's chosen you To be chosen by Mask is a wonderful thing. It's time that we brought you to become a sister shadow. Come into
What now?
a sister shadow. It is a title. Clerics of Mask and then the shadows within the church, and you'll be a sister shadow. Do you see those powders? And he kind of just holds his hand and says, "Must hide them," and they just become invisible. Just the object becomes invisible. You're kind of like, whoa! And it's just, I can teach you this, or more correctly, Mask can grant you the power to do this through the worship. And the best way to worship Mask is to take wealth and acquire it, to strive to end each day with more material wealth than you began it with, but still what is most vital. You must make untruth seem plausible, and never lie when you cleave to the truth, but leave a mistaken impression. Subtlety in the eyes of Mask is everything. The more subtle you can become, the more power that Mask will grant to you. A bribe is the least subtle of the tools Mask gives to us. Never force someone to do something when you can manipulate them into doing it. Spin secrets are top secrets, but do so unconcerned, not with the sly excitement of untutored youth. Do not get giddy for it. Trust in the shadows, the dark corridors that Mask and Mascaran walk, for the bright way makes you an easy target. Come with me into the Sanctum Sanctorum, and we can induct you into the glory that is Mask. And he takes you up to the top level, across the swaying bridge. He says, I really should do something about those chains. They are looking a bit more rotten. And then takes you down past his blame room, and then down into a room that you've never been allowed back into. And this is completely dark, total darkness. And you kind of land, but you just feel at home here. And as you're kind of there, you feel the space expand a little bit, and Torquil starts to walk, and you follow him, and it's almost as if you should be hitting the wall but don't, and you're walking down the edges of the reality. You can kind of see the walls of Skullport either side of it, and you're going from shadow to shadow to shadow, as if this is just a corridor that you walk down, but you're always on the kind of penumbra and the kind of edge of the light, and you just flit through as if physicality and physical space means nothing to you. And you're taken into a natural cavern there. This is where, in our hearts, we all worship Mask in the shadows. And that is what Mask stands for. Acquisition, but hiding and being obscured. You'll be given a dream. For to unlock your full power, you will need to complete a heist of some significance to the Church of Mask. Then you will be granted the title of Sister Shadow. Mask will provide you. He will provide you with so much, but it does not fall into your lap. You must dream, and you must deliver on those dreams. This is not a chaos. It is not undirected. I do not seek to achieve anything. I do not seek to establish the best thieves guild. I seek to glory in Mask. We must give ourselves to him. And he leaves you. And on kind of a small table in front of you, again, there's just this shadow blade. And you feel it, and you kind of like feel the heft of it, and it screams out a little bit, but then it settles down, and you're able to calm it into a more focused whisper. And that night, as you kind of you slumber in the room, but you awaken in your bed, you have a vision, clearly a dream from Mask. You have a vision of you leaving Skullport, and you move through halls that are patrolled by drow and hobgoblins, and you go through a gate, and you come out into a level that is mostly water, and there's another combat going here, and you manage and work your way through there, and you come into a wild wood. The stars above your head trees grow there, and there's a female figure completing what you understand to be an ancient rite, and she has a stick of hazel, and you know that you must take that hazel stick and you must bring it back to Mask without the archdruid of the Willowwood being aware. And you wake, and not only do you kind of like feel renewed and given a sense of purpose, but you also have kind of a new shape of kind of like spells gathered in your mind, new powers that are granted by Mask. You may call them spells, but the Mascaran consider them powers. You learn the cantrip Minor Invisibility, which is the cantrip that Torquil used to make an object invisible. You also learn a spell called Shadow Cloak that allows you to, and I'll give you the stats of these, but Shadow Cloak allows you to
disappear!
Do exactly that. The power of Mask is
it so well.
The power of Mask is indeed strong with you. It creates a fog of swirling smoky shadows centered on you. It grants you a +2 bonus to your armor class for duration. The spell doesn't affect your vision, and light can't penetrate the Shadow Cloak's gloom, so it will conceal your identity. And you also learn to be able to summon magical darkness, but you also learn how to summon a blade made of pure shadow. That's a Shadow Blade spell from Xanathar's Guide, which will allow you to essentially summon a shadow blade to your hand upon demand. And just on the edge of your mind, there are other spells, other powers that you feel that Mask may grant you as you gain understanding from him. But remember, strive to end each day with more material wealth than you began it with. And that manipulation is the tool. Keep yourself hidden, for the bright way makes for easy targets. Does not mean that you must commit. Does not mean that you must commit atrocity. Does not mean that you must kill wantonly, for that is not the way of Mask. Okay. So there you go, Zerelda. So I'll give you the stats for those spells.
Thank you. I feel like I've done well out of that.
I was going to say, do you say you can see magical darkness now?
No, you can't see magical darkness now. But he's a half elf, so that's some form of blind sight. Okay. Oh, and remember, Aldred, you've got your spell pool ability.
Yes, I was actually wanting to clarify something about that. Mm-hmm. I think it reads like it's talking about the 3rd edition rules, where you've got to not dedicate have a spell slot free. Now, does that mean I have to not prepare one spell, or I actually have to have a spell slot which I can cast with it?
Spell slot that you can cast with it.
Right, so that is just reading from the 3rd edition perspective, where you had to assign a spell to a spell slot.
So essentially, if you wanted to cast from it, you need to keep a spell slot free to be able to pull from it.
Yeah, but I can memorize my full amount of spells.
Yeah. But if you cast all your spells for the day, you can't then pull from that.
Right. Yeah. It's just the currency I have to have, but I don't have to have the memory real estate.
Yeah, that's right. Yes. Yeah. Okay. Iggy.
Yes.
Talk to us about what you're doing in Skullport. But before you do, I'm going to go and refill my water. So I'm going to be literally 2 seconds.
Oh,
I will do the same.
Oh, well then I'm going to post this thing I was wanting to post. Oh, everyone's gone. Ben, everyone's gone.
I know! Did you get Paul's airplane reference?
You know what? I did, but I think I'm really... Because the first sentence, I was like, what is he talking? And then the goblin started talking, and I was like, what is he on about? And then I finally understood what he was saying in the 3rd sentence.
My God, I thought that is Iggy the worshipper of Mask now.
He got so frustrated with you guys leaving, went to get his own.
Fair enough. Okay, Iggy, tell me what is happening for you in Skullport.
Yeah. One quick question before we start. Will I be able to see Zerelda when she's got this shadow cloak thing on? I can see through magical darkness.
Let me go and check. Shadow cloak. No, so it's not technically magical darkness. It's semi-solid fog of swirling smoky shadows.
Fog.
So it creates. So if she's in dim light or darkness, then you need to use an investigation check to realise that something is slightly weird as she kind of like moves around. But it's not
I
technically
posted a
magical
thing that'd be a
darkness.
cool thing.
Okay, then. I like Skullport. It feels nice to have the rock above my head again, rather than wide open skies. I never quite got used to that in the city. In Waterdeep, I feel more at home underground. Interestingly, yeah, the dark doesn't bother me anymore. I found this is one of the advantages of this new life I appear to have gained myself. Whereas before in the dwarven halls, when they were well lit, they were well. When they were dark, and I could never see. It was a bone of much teasing in my youth of my fellow kind of apprentices being running through into passages where they knew I couldn't follow, dragging me into areas and then abandoning me in the darkness. So this is no longer the case. But my thoughts haven't always been on the future and my new past. I do what I always do when I find somewhere I'm in somewhere new. I seek the forge and the comfort of the fire. So I find a forge called the Shattered Anvil. It's an offer my services to the hobgoblin Pertag who runs. Yeah, he's an old hobgoblin. Used to be a quartermaster of the Xanathar's Guild, but now his leg was shattered in an off-duty sort of street fight, if they are ever off-duty, and he now walks with a limp and has it in a metal leg brace. And so it's helpful for the assistants because he can't get around the forge as well used to himself. And the older he gets, the more, and the perpetual dampness in the air kind of makes the brace very rusty and requires constant maintenance. My reasoning behind looking for this is for the forge is three. Money. I'm skint. I lost everything I had virtually when we got broken out of jail, and I need to make some money. And I've seen Zerelda go to the fighting pits, and I've also seen the state she comes back. And while this doesn't put me off that approach of making money that way, I've no doubt I could survive, do quite well there. I've noticed the hunger when I'm in battle, and these fighting pits don't seem to be encouraged to beat. And I sort of, while I am actually enjoying my newfound ability, I do have a niggling doubt in the back of my mind as to whether I'd be able to restrain from that killing blow once the heat of battle was upon me. And so I go for more familiar work with the forge. Second thing, is there a great place to learn gossip and news? All manner of folk come through this. Needs things making, need things mending. And people talk while they're waiting, especially if you know how to hold your own tongue. You might not get as much information in volume as you are, where their tongues are loosened by alcohol. But I've found it's normally more accurate. It's more quality than quantity when you're working at the forge. And thirdly, I seek guidance. I always heard encouragement when putting hammer to anvil. And while that whisper is there more often now, it is always clearest while I work. So I work myself to learn more about what I can do and what the next steps are. But I've not just been working at as I said, I like these people. I'm fond of them. I will look out for them where I can. And so, as they've gone about their business, I've been following them. Not to be nosy, not to snoop, just to keep an eye. It's amazing how easy it is to follow somebody when your face can shift its form at every street. When they don't look twice at the old hag who points at them and shouts, or maybe at the hobgoblin who marches past from the other side of the... Again, these powers could have served me so much better. If only I'd had them in the Growlhund mansion, I might have made my way out of there rather than just standing around. I followed them at one point of it. Fenn, he vanishes whenever he wants to. I'm good. He's better. And I suspect that I only saw him when he wanted to. Ode, he's always in the bar, playing music. Aside from when he's there, I don't know where. Zerelda surprises me. She's become much more adept at evading sight and vision as their 3 months have passed. It's very interesting. But she's clearly changing. Hell, she had me she had me remove the arm and skirt from her chainmail to make it into a vest. It's a bizarre thing for someone with such martial vent. But, by the by, I acquiesced her request, and I hope she enjoyed it. Ah, Aldred. Aldred and his terrible attempts at facial hair. What a pathetic excuse for a beard that boy is growing. And again, I don't doubt he could handle it. But let's just say I've dissuaded a cudpurse or two from bothering him as he's worked his way through Sculp. He doesn't know they were there. Mainly because if he had, we'd have probably set the place on fire. Not the best way to keep under the radar. Not drawing attention though. I've sought out a kind of abandoned shack towards the edge of the conurbation, where to test my own abilities. My time at the forge has seemed great. I now feel like there's things I could do that I could never have dreamt of before. Some of them, I feel I have an infinite well of power and could just do them consistently forever. Others require my glaive. And also are really draining, like pull on the spirit almost. It soon recovers, but I must be aware of overextending myself. I now know the limits of what I can do currently. And now, I really, really want to go test them out. Undermountain would be a lot of fun, I think, from what I'm told. So,
And there are many souls to be harvested there, Ignatius. Many souls for you and I in that place of increasing strength. Your glaive talks to you straight into your mind again. It's using an archaic form of Dwarven that you understand in a general, rather literal sense.
And is that what you seek?
Souls of power. Yes, it is exactly what I seek. I think it's what we both seek.
I think that sounds like it could be fun. I will select whose souls I harvest there.
Anything that my blade touches, I will harvest. I was made by Moradin. Made before he created the dwarves. I was made for a race that he chose not to name. And he cast us into darkness, for we were flawed in his eyes. Cast out, never to be seen in the light, nor to feel life gathered around us again. I was a weapon that the hero wielded, and all that we desire is a place in his world. Are you?
You are here, are you not? I summon you and you come forth.
We project. You have not controlled our full power. Perhaps if you gather enough souls, harvest, one could say, you could gain the title of Grand Harvester of Souls, and you could obtain me my full power. And then the Morden Saman will not be able to avoid us.
I think that can be arranged.
Do not just arrange it, do it, Ignatius. Give us those souls, give us that lifeblood, give us the attention that we need to be able to intrude and enter the world that Moradin has declaimed we shall not be part of. What can possibly go wrong?
I have one question.
Ask.
What do I get?
You get power beyond imaginings. You get to be the hero that delivers the race that Moradin shunned. You become our focal point, and I will serve your will. As well as a fucking cool mohawk. You'll be able to use me to shave with.
I'm sold. Yes.
I know that riches perhaps do not incite you, but you've never been accepted by them. Same way that we were shunned. They may allow you to join them, but you're not one of them. They deny you entry into the dwarven halls, into their inner confidences. You will never be able to take your place as your bloodline should have. Do you know about your bloodline, Ignatius?
No. What about my bloodline?
It is only those of heroes who can wield a heroic weapon. As time moves on, I will be able to share more. But in greeting and in anticipation of a world of future benefit, I can feel and I can fuel your fury. I know that combat draws you and you wish to prove yourself in your arms, and I can aid in that. If you just let yourself go and let me unleash myself, then we will be more powerful against our foes. What can possibly go wrong?
We will see. We will spend our time together, and we will see and how I develop with you.
Interesting. You fight me. This is going to be...
We forge weapons. Weapons do not forge.
To be held again by somebody worthy. We are going to be great. And Moradin will know he made a mistake in shunning us. Just call upon me, and you can fight recklessly, and our enemies will be vanquished. You'll gain advantage on your attacks, although you'll have a slight disadvantage in that the opponents will have advantage on their attacks against you. But let's disregard that. But you're able to do it if you want. So mechanically, you'll have the ability to recklessly attack with a glaive.
No.
So when you make your first attack on your turn, you can decide to attack recklessly. Doing so gives you advantage on melee weapon attack rolls using strength during that turn. But attack rolls against you have advantage until your next turn.
Cool. Excellent.
Okay. I mean, you'll be furthering the glaive's agenda because it'll harvest more souls. But I mean, what's not to like about a tile that is Grand Harvester of Souls? I mean, and let's face it, Moradin is it.
I will ask the glaive if it has a name then.
The name will be known to you in time.
Excellent. I'll de-summon it and head back to the others.
Yep, okay, cool. Sorry, I'm just going to confirm that I do want the last Springsteen tribute band ticket down at the Greystones on the 29th.
So who's waiting for that blade to harvest a soul and then just erupt into like nightmare of a weapon?
Yeah.
Oh, he's gonna die. What? Does he get souls from things that we kill in proximity to him?
I don't know, because you can experiment if you want.
It said anything it's
Have an experiment. This is a controlled test. Do I have any volunteers? You be the twat. You be the twat. You be a twat.
I'm just thinking, if he gets no final blows, that's really going to be shit. You'll be level 5 forever.
It's like in Warcraft before they broke off the kill steal, and you get XP if you dealt the final blow, irrespective of what else it was. I'll have to patch it in a later release or something.
There is nothing worse than people sniping your kills.
Yeah, kill stealing.
But for 2 years, you're forever at level 5 until Paul fixes it.
And I've got a dev backlog that I'm working on, and it's a nightmare. It's a nightmare. Okay, Ode, do you want to tell us what you're up to in Skullport in the intervening 3 months?
Well, in order to make ends meet, Ode he has continued with his sets in the shadier parts of Skullport, as if there isn't already shady parts.
Yep. Okay.
Sometimes with Zerelda, or both. Any mention of either sat around drinking, either mention of the Blackstaff, or more so the Zents and the Harpers, brings an internal rage that is quickly shrugged off with a drink and a snide remark. Although it makes for easy coin skulking about those dives, it's also an easy way to watch, listen, gain information, and learn of rumours, places to rob, people to blackmail, and also offers a good spot to look out for possible Xanathar members and possible spies. All of these are quantity rather than quality. Ode had taken quite an interest in those sidearms that belong to that mysterious scoundrel who owned the Scarlet Market.
Is that a sod?
Sod, yeah. Mysterious Sod who owned the Scarlet Market. And therefore is also on the lookout for any of these weapon shipments or any information regarding these kind of weapons.
Yep, okay.
Ode doesn't like Skullport so much as he's rarely used to being back to square one. He had plans for that place in Troll Skull Alley, turning it into a massage parlour. Since being here, he does intend to make the most of it, however. Not being a fan of organisations, Ode has been contemplating possible ways to undermine the Xanathar. Them good-for-nothing gangsters, as many often hear him say, but with no luck as of yet, unfortunately. Deciding to lay low, Ode has constantly been eavesdropping and waiting for any information to benefit either himself or the gang, particularly Aldred. thinking the Sangalora secrets could be a big fish, and Ode does love secrets. About a week ago, and I wrote this bit on the bus on the way home, actually, Ode returned to the Hanging Mask, both bloodied and blue. 2 drow jumped him in a back alley.
Do that.
Guesses they didn't like his songs. However, he'd wondered if drow bled web fluid. He was quite disappointed. He knows that Fenn's been looking for a tradeway to the surface, and Ode wants in on that. 3 goals presently are guns, in no specific order, guns, Bangalore of Secret, and to work away into the Xanathar.
Okay, it's quite a lot there. So Sif, I meant to mention, Iggy, you'll earn about 400 gold from the forge and such like. Yeah, okay. So you pick up probably a couple of hundred gold, kind of around and about, but you're kind of probably spending a bit more to do that as well. So the Xanathar skill dominates Skullport, and in the kind of places that you've been frequenting, there's lots of talk, dreams, and idle, perfect robbery style chat about taking the fight back to the Xanathar. The problem is always one. Xanathar have a secret hideout somewhere, and this is just an extension, and nobody's really sure exactly where. And secondly, Skull Island is a tough nut to crack. So whatever the intention is with the Xanathar, you have to do something about Skull Island, and there are several hundred armed, capable, kind of hobgoblin troops stationed there. There's talk about a hobgoblin called Azog, out in the 3rd level of Undermountain. Azrog, sorry, not Azog. He is from Lord of the Rings. Azrog, but Azrog has a challenge in that there is a kind of ongoing set of skirmishing with a set of drow out there. But there's a view that if you could invite either the drow or the hobgoblins as an ally into Skullport, then potentially you could use that to push out the Xanathar Guild. The flip side of the Xanathar Guild is that there's no space for any other faction particularly. Their Harpers maybe have a presence there, but it must be incredibly low key. You do hear rumour that there is a Zent group that kind of base themselves in Skullport, down at the Rockery. It might not be this, but somewhere located within the Skullport, and you're getting close to whereabouts that they are, but they seem to be an isolated kind of like group that perhaps were sent in but haven't really been able to get masses of a foothold. You don't find anything out about kind of guns or whatnot, and there aren't very many drow that are kind of like. In fact, there were no drow that you encountered that are carrying those. But the kind of main way that you think about trade route is the locks that you guys came down through, which essentially used to be run by a group called the Keepers, and they were magical locks that were allowed proper-sized ships, so galleons, to kind of transition along through the sea caves, then down into Skullport, and there was until about 100 years ago a large source of trade. Nobody's ever been able to understand exactly how they work. The Keeper's Enclave, which is across from Skull Island, is clearly where you may be able to find information out there, but nobody's been successful about returning that. But then, kind of like towards the end of the 3 months, you're kind of like hanging around in the Hanging Mask, and as happens in the Hanging Mask, Mask provides, and you kind of just idly going through some of the possessions that you find, and you come across 3 small packets of black powder. They're kind of like more wads of black powder. And kind of as you kind of like go, it's a bit strange, and you kind of go into your backpack, you pull out essentially a 6-shooter gun. No, it's a 5-shooter actually. It's kind of a barrel, a metal chamber, and then kind of a handle. It's kind of pretty solid. It's easily kind of like, that's the size of my head. That's kind of like how big it is. It's got quite a heft to it, and in the kind of like thing that you can pop out this little chamber, and there are another 2 of these wads, and you kind of smell it. Yeah, okay, it smells quite distinctive. And then there's a sheet of parchment that kind of is underneath there.
Dirty Harry is what's happening.
It's very much that kind of size. Yeah, was it 5 or was it 6? In all the confusion, I just kind of forgot. And this sheet is a rough note, which is written in an alphabet and a language that you don't really know. But down at the bottom, you see one of the sigils that you clearly associate with kind of drow. And there's a bag of gems, which you reckon is worth about 500 gold pieces, are kind of attached to it. Now you remember that is it Ticky Bob's or Grill Pot speaks drow? Because you were around when that
Ticky Bob's.
Ticky Bob's.
Yeah, Ticky Bob's can speak it.
Yeah, so you kind of head across to Ticky Bob's, and Ticky Bob's is kind of just it looks like she's trying to catch Seat in a net, and she stops immediately as you kind of like get closer, and she races across to a chest, and she puts a few bits of cloth into a chest and closes it down. And she kind of looks at you with that kind of look that 7-year-old boys are able to master in case of I know that you know that I was doing something wrong, but I'm going to pretend that you didn't see anything. I kind of like look, which is entirely transparent, but is incredibly cute, so you let them get away with it anyway. And she looks at you and says, "Hi, Ode. Seat and I were just playing a game of catch the fucker in a net and roast him over the fire. He said he wanted to play."
Oh, it's like Wednesday and Pugsley.
I
had a note. Thought you might be able to translate it.
Are you carrying the weapon, like, visibly?
Is there a holster for?
No, there's no holster.
Right, then no.
Yeah, okay. She kind of looks at it and says, okay. Well, it's an instruction to obtain smoke powder.
And how might I obtain the smoke powder, missy?
Well, that's gnomish engineering. That's crap compared to goblin engineering. It's all fangled and tricksy and difficult. Goblin engineering is best. You want to get yourself some goblin engineering. Look, and she points at the shitter that opens out into the street. Finest goblin engineering.
Well, how about you go tell me what it actually does, say?
Okay. It's essentially whomever bears this warrant is authorized to obtain a keg of smoke powder, and they do so under the protection of House Avrindar. All glory to Loth. I shouldn't say that in here.
That's some scary stuff in Faerun. When you say God's name, they can area.
We love you, Loth. We love you, Loth. And you recognise the name House Avrindar as the drow that are skirmishing with the hobgoblin Azrock out in the 3rd level of Undermountain. Payment to be rendered in full at the usual rates.
Well, work is work.
Yeah. So you have a smoke powder gun. And you have 5 smoke powder charges, which means you can fire it 5 times. And you have got a letter that would allow you to get a barrel of smoke powder if you manage to get over to the drow, if they believe that they're supposed to sell it to you, and if you've got the right amount of money.
Yeah, I might have accidentally killed 2 of them.
Well, an injured one. One's fleeing just behind you.
Quick!
You could easily get a holster kind of like made for it as well. Kind of like one that you could have inside of your jacket.
I think I've got leatherworkers tools as well.
Yeah.
I'll get that done then. Yeah, awesome.
Yeah. Okay. Oakley dokley. Right, so
I'll build you an holster.
yeah, so it's 10:30. We're pretty good for time, pretty on the ball there. So so that's that. Ed. Anything else you want to kind of do there? I'll send you the stat. I'll send you the stats for it as well.
Thank you, because I need to update my fantasy grounds.
I'll have to create it as an item for you.
Yeah. I think we've kind of covered everything. To be fair, I mean, like, what does TikTok know about the
Tiki Bobs, and
yeah,
Real Pot.
What
That's
do
my
you know
favourite name.
About Xant's.
She spits on the ground. She shrugs. She doesn't get much out of she doesn't get out of the hanging mask a great deal. Though she often gets quite a number of predominantly male, youngish male visitors coming through to Grill Pot and Tiki Bob's.
Slut.
Oh, they're Grill Pot and Tiki Bob's are both male.
I thought, sorry?
They're both male.
Oh.
So?
Tiki Bob says,
Male slut.
Are you interested in our sideline? And she kind of takes you across. You got to promise not to tell Torquil. And she opens out the chest, and there's a set of kind of like linen, and kind of like stitched on this linen. There are it's kind of like quite basic tapestries. It says Champions of Chult. Grillpot, there's a massive demand. Grillpot and I are like doing it, and she kind of gets some out, and young men being what young men are, there's loads in dodgy poses. And look, right. So this is some like fan art, right? And that's Darian bent over, right? And this is all the Chultan Order of Gauntlet, like lining up. Do you want some? Do you want to put the word out? Maybe you could sell some when you kind of go out and do your songs.
Oh, God, hang on.
Look, this one's of Diego wearing just his hat.
Spit on it.
Hey! She puts it all back in there and says, well, I can see you're not interested then. Or are you after Diego's wife?
One that's just tiger stripes.
No, it's not common knowledge about lycanthropy, is it? So
Yeah.
Oh, and look at this. This is the full page, and he unfolds it. Milady de Winter. Naked.
Takes just the one of De Winter, rolls it up, puts it in his jerkin.
Yeah, okay. Oh, in his jerkin. But one of the jobs that you kind of like pick up on the side is delivering essentially kind of body parts that the dwarven brothers that you met on the journey into Skullport have harvested.
Nice.
And it's on one of these jobs taking spider parts to Tasselgrin Veldarn at the Poisoned Quill. And the Poisoned Quill is of interest to you. You've heard about it. This is the first opportunity you have to get there. And the Poisoned Quill is a combination of kind of like poison shop and forgery centre is kind of what the word on the street tells you. And Tasselgrin, or Tass as she's more commonly known, is a very old kind of wizened human. In fact, the crone who was calling out You should be dead.
Yeah.
Is exactly that. And you kind of head over to the poisoned quill with kind of this bag of spider parts with you, kind of like poison sacks and stuff like that. You're told to be fairly cautious, and you're kind of like, and it's just kind of like hovel, and it's kind of like covered with just crap out the front, bits and pieces, not anything kind of obvious. It's really dank. Really kind of murky, even more so than Skullport normally. The moist air seems to follow you in, and the mist swirls a little bit around in the shop. But towards the back, behind, in really badly leaning, kind of like shelving, is loads and loads of glass vials. And kind of there's a dull glow of what looks like a fire almost coming from the back door, and this old crone, quite a wizened old lady, she's got a better beard than I have, and she's kind of well, Fenn van der Vries, as I live and breathe.
How do you know my name?
Well, when you spend as much time as I do, knee deep in shit, blood, piss and puke, you learn what men are made of, and what they do to themselves in their heads when life tells them they're not. Well, they're more than shit, blood, piss and puke. What are you doing wanking yourself off to a success at a bit of pickpocketing, when the blood in your veins is as blue as out?
I've avoided that part of my life.
Well, you shouldn't have
Better
put it in
money on
your
the street.
background to a GM, should you? She doesn't say that. Oh, well, you're part of the Luskan nobility, Fenn. You can't escape that, but you should be dead.
Stop with it. Should be dead. That was you on the streets.
Yeah, of course it
Don't
was.
start asking questions.
Well. So, you want to be a master assassin? Going after your granddad?
Am I not already a master assassin?
In your head you are. In your head. All you young
That's
men
like-
are. Everything. You're all big in your head. Well, I can help you out, you know. I can help you out. Got some poisons.
Poisons are too subtle.
Oh, okay.
I only came here with a bag of spider parts.
Well, you see, I asked for those spider parts, knowing what would happen. In fact, let's have a little look at what might happen. And she kind of just reaches behind on the counter. You hear this, and she pulls out kind of like the mangiest cat you've kind of like seen. Just slams it down to the desk, holds it, kind of reaches down by a hip and pulls out a kind of like a meat cleaver, essentially. Straight through the cat, blood spurts everywhere. And up onto her face, and kind of like, oh, have you taken an involuntary pace backwards? You just can't help yourself. The cat's like, meow! And she then bashes it again. And it's like quiet then. She says, "This is what I do to anybody carrying cats that comes near me. My great aunt Nanny Poo Poo almost got done over by some cat wielding freaks. She said if you see a cat, you put a meat cleaver through its head." And she kind of reaches in. She's got kind of like fairly long blackened fingernails. She pulls out kind of like these severed entrails. This is interesting. Right, okay. Oh, yes. Oh, I missed the liver. I might have that for my tea later. Right. Oh, it's still beating. Right ventricle, left ventricle. Oh, this is interesting. Fenn der Vries. You could kill a god. There's only one master in Skullport. Only one master in Undermountain. And we can't be doing with a god trying to create havoc in here.
Which god?
Oh, not a real one. Not a powerful one. But the Kuatoa. They They make up their own little gods, and they're doing that on the level below Undermountain in this one. If you were to assassinate that god, that would do a great favour. And in return, I happen to know a quick route up into Waterdeep for a small group of enterprising individuals.
And this god, how do you want it done?
Dead.
How?
In a way that kills it.
Knife? Poison?
Don't care. Just want it dead.
And it pays well?
It pays by the quick route to Waterdeep. Now, Fenn, there's more gold in Waterdeep than there is in Skullport. And if you truly want to establish some kind of thieves guild that can operate between the two, then you'll need to have a route betwixt the two.
No, it's true.
Oh, oi! Tass! You call me Tass, not old woman? Show some respect to your elders.
You just killed a cat right in front of me.
He was asking for it.
Well, I'm not fond of cats. You're lucky there.
I'm lucky.
The Kuatoa, a god. This is
Yeah.
a physical being you want murdered. What is the name of this?
I don't know. I'm just like, you know. The real master of Undermountain wants it dead.
And the god's in Undermountain.
Yeah,
Level
the level
2.
below this one. It's not really, you know, a god. Just put something through the high priest, and then that'll stop them making it up.
Okay, I could do with a route back to Waterdeep.
Ah, I'm sure that you could.
Okay, I'll kill this god. I'm not taking on many assassination jobs down.
That's wise. That's wise. You don't want to have to sleep where
How
you shit.
did you know? How did you know I'd be willing to kill for this? I'm just a simple
Well,
thief.
No,
Usually.
you're not. And she pulls out one of your playing cards.
Uh,
And she puts it on and says, "A Cassalanters, eh?"
So they have travelled this far. That's good.
Oh, the card has. And there were plenty more around the city of Waterdeep before that one reappeared its little face. Alright, we're going to get interrupted.
You've got to run in.
Yeah. Hello, you.
The electric switch one actually had numbers.
It's got numbers.
Yeah, when you for when shooting, not just infinity.
Oh, so it's got ammunition. It's not got an infinite ray. Oh, do you want to come and say hello to Josh?
Hi, Kenny.
Not so loud, please.
Hi, Kenny. What are you up to? What games are you playing?
No. Can say not so loud, please. Okay.
We're talking there.
Badger. Loud badger.
You're a badger.
Someone
Who's a badger?
Kenny.
You're a badger.
Have
Josh
any
is a badger.
Josh the badger. Dun 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 dun. No fish was handing during filming. But if you look here, it looks really sparkly.
Ah, that'll be the light reflecting off the metal.
That was me just blowing.
Okay.
What?
Could you say roll your initiative?
We're on initiative.
Initiative.
Wait, let me go and get someone.
Who are you gonna get? He's just gonna get someone.
Today at work, a lot of people saying, "What animal would you be if you had to be brought back?" And I said badger today.
Face.
Do you want to show it to the camera?
Wait, I'm gonna put it on first. Can you put it on?
What is it?
Boo plays.
Oh, this is your YouTube intro, isn't it?
Dun, 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 dun. Wait, can I have it, please?
Mm-hmm.
Dun, 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 bum, 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 wait. Oopsie.
It's okay, don't worry.
Bum, 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 bum. Wait, can I have it? Bum, 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 bum. Donk.
Right, have you done your teeth then?
No.
Okay. I think he'll come back after he's done his teeth.
Okay.
That would be my guess. It might not. It depends if he goes straight to bed.
Yeah.
What the fuck were we doing?
Talking to the old woman.
Yes, that's right. Okay, of course, the mic picks him up in the background.
That's fine. So yeah, so we said, oh yeah, I asked how she knew I'd be willing to
Kill. Yeah. And she got out one of your cards.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Don't be telling anyone about this, and I'll pick up a card.
Oh, I won't tell any of your companions.
How much you giving me for these spider parts anyway?
Oh, I pay the brothers.
God.
But she reaches back and she grabs all that noise is happening in the back of the shop. You're not quite sure what it is. She grabs one of the bottles and kind of passes it across to you. Some
What's it?
extra special poison. You can put it onto your bolts.
What's it do?
Sends people to sleep.
This could be interesting. Wow. Okay.
Yep.
You ain't got any healing things, have you? While I'm here.
No, we deal death, not life. I don't know, maybe I could turn this half of the cat into a healing potion.
That'd be impressive if you could.
Swinging it by its tail. Blood just dripping down everywhere. Part of the inner just dropped onto the desk.
Do you have any more wisdom to impart on me?
Mask doesn't always provide. Oh my god, I don't know why that scream was in the back of the shop.
That's another cat.
Yeah, she's just restocking a cat storage out front.
So, I'm just making that. Okay, well, don't tell anyone about my name or the card.
I won't, I promise.
Stop shouting at me in the streets.
Oh, maybe. You should be dead, though.
Yes, well, thanks to some adventurers, I'm not.
Have a good day. And she kind of ushers you out. Door slams behind.
I'll like put up my hood again and like kind of shuffle away.
Yeah. Okay.
I'm looking at the vibe suspiciously.
Yeah, be careful. Okay, cool. Okay, excellent. So that's that.
There's cats again.
Yeah, that's it. Okay, anyway, right. So, we'll return you back to I can't remember who came after you, but we'll return you back to the rest of the guys.
Yeah.
Cheers. Okay, right. So I'm going to close the session there. Okay, that was good. That was a bit different, but it was fun. I think. Do you guys enjoy that?
Yeah.
That was
Good
awesome.
stuff. Good. So I'm hoping that you've kind of all got like a hook that will push you a little bit out into Undermountain, give you some purpose to what you want to do. There's a Keeper Enclave if you want to kind of investigate that. It's kind of up to you what you want to do. You will need to decide kind of whether you want to zig or zag. Kind of like, are you going to go upwards? Are you going to kind of go downwards, or what you're going to do? But basically, you're all really going to be starting off heading into level 3 of Undermountain. So I would propose that next session we kind of move off from Skullport and maybe head out there.
Okay.
Kind of advance whatever agendas you want to advance. So next session.
Shit.
I think I know what you're gonna say, and I don't think I can make it.
25th.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's 2 days before my exam.
If you don't know it by then, you won't know it anyway.
Fair point. Fair point. If you don't know by then, you'll always have to just pay Sanglor's price.
Suppose I could take my recording equipment.
So, 3 hours out of your night to decompress.
Yeah.
Mhm.
You know what? I
Well-
could. Yeah. I'll be in Kieran's house, but I'll.
You can play an
Yeah,
NPC.
I can take my recording equipment with me. Yeah.
Okay, well, we can call it close to the time. But I think if it's just you that can't make it, then we would play. Would be my view. Just having one down isn't a problem. Same with Josh tonight.
Being eaten by the
I forgot to say. Did Aldred make a bit of cash, and he's also spell pool because he feels like memorizing mage armor is a waste of time, so he's trying to like flood it with mage armor like every day. I know I can only get credit, or no, not credit, amount of freebies per
Yeah.
like how high my level is, so that's max or whatever.
Yeah.
And he's just trying to flood the spell pool with mage armor, so he doesn't have to.
Okay. Well, it's still a chance. There's a chance that you won't get it, but okay. Yeah, you make let's just say about what 250 gold.
250. I'll have to write that down somewhere until I get to my.
Aldred's the poor one.
He's got over $1,000 of party funds, secret party. He's
Mm.
fine.
Undisclosed.
All these spells that he's learning in his book that they're paying for out of that money.
Well, he's going to get a student loan rebate of like 40 quid or something, isn't he? From 1996. Okay, right, so 25th. Okay, right, so thank you for watching, listening, whatever it is that you have done as an audience. We appreciate it. When I edit this, there'll probably be Fenn's bit in there as well, so thank you, Josh. Top banana work with that. I mean, how you managed to get those 1,000 gold worth of gems out of Aldred's pouch so successfully, it was just fantastic roleplay. What can I say? Anybody got anything to say before we finish? Thank you. Cheers. Bye.